why don't you talk a little, just to sort of summarize some of your findings in your book, which I would also want to say is very readable. I mean, it's a really fine job, but it's also a very readable book. All the judges felt that way.
Well, thank you, Dan. So the book is narratively, tells the story of a whistleblower in India's largest generic drug company, Ranbaxy, who blew the whistle on just a huge fraudulent endeavor by the company to falsify its data. So the quality data that it used to get approval from foreign regulators or any regulators, most of that data turned out to be fake. And the book tells the story of Dinesh Thakur, who was the whistleblower who really risked it all to turn the company in, to bring it to justice. But it also follows a number of other characters who basically expose how that kind of fraud is really sort of common business in the generic drug industry in these manufacturing plants overseas.
And then in the case of Ranbaxy, right, they actually did a study, a report went to the board saying there was all this fraud, and then they just buried the report.
Absolutely. Not only did they bury the report, but the board opted to destroy the PowerPoint on which the computer on which the PowerPoint was created. They took apart the computer piece by piece to leave no trace of this report.
And in terms of what the FDA, I mean, people certainly notice this, and you've written articles leading up to the book about this. What has, I mean, one of the problems clearly is with the overseas inspection is totally inadequate.
Yeah.
They don't have enough people. They don't have enough inspectors. Some of the inspectors are very good and heroic. Some of them aren't so good. And then there are questions about the policy, but has there been any change over the last couple of years?
Well, so, excuse me, after the book came out, I was sort of encouraged that there were a number of congressional hearings that were looking at the FDA's oversight of these foreign plants. But then COVID hit. So that just made everything even worse than it was before. One of the things that I expose in the book is the FDA pre-announces its inspections overseas. It tells the plants that they're going to come 2 months in advance. The plants actually send in data fabrication teams to alter and invent and shred data, so they know they're coming. And they even ask the manufacturing plants to arrange ground transportation and hotels. Yeah. This led to this system of what one of my sources called regulatory tourism. You know, the plants would send a luxury vehicle to pick up the inspector, put them up in a fancy room in a hotel, take them on outings to the Taj Mahal, and give them, you know, arrange for massages and other perks. Yeah. And, you know, at one congressional hearing, the FDA said, well, we don't ask these foreign plants to arrange our ground transportation anymore. So that's not really progress.
And again, to in the US, whatever issues there are, they do not pre-announce and you described one. I mean, they don't pre-announce the inspection. The inspector just shows up and says, I'm from the FDA, and then goes and looks at things, right?
Right, absolutely. It's completely different. So, you know, those unannounced inspections have been reasonably effective in having the plants be compliant. But overseas, it just turned into this absolutely wild and sort of corrupted system. And now, those inspections have been entirely suspended. So, you know, this is not good for drug safety.
So we don't even know who is going to make I realize they haven't been approved yet. We do know, was it remdesivir?
Yeah, remdesivir. Yeah.
Remdesivir has been approved as a treatment, not a vaccine.
Right.
And there's another one that was just an antibody treatment.
Right.
But do we know where these things are made?
Well, I mean, that is, we sort of do, but there's been very little focus on disclosing that, um, on disclosing what kind of inspections have taken place. And it's really even worse with the vaccines that are being developed under Operation Warp Speed, which is the big Trump administration, public-private partnership to develop these vaccines. There's almost no disclosure at all. So I'm literally having to do, deep dive reporting to just figure out what plants are being used to make these drugs. Yeah.
Now, by the way, am I correct that the Pfizer one wasn't done, the one that they talked about with the initial very good results, that's a vaccine. That was actually not done under warp speed?
So the actually, it was a pretty funny dynamic, because when Pfizer announced these phenomenal results that it had, the Trump administration was quick to say, see, this is this amazing triumph of our initiative. And Pfizer pretty much kicked them to the curb after VP Mike Pence said that publicly. They were like, nope, we didn't take any money from you guys for research and development. So, Pfizer really developed their vaccine on their own, but the government, the US government, is a huge customer. So they have pre-purchased, I can't remember how many doses, maybe over 1 billion doses of the vaccine.